Today, we're going to be ranking the most common types of algo trading strategies on a tier list, from S tier for super, all the way down to D tier, depending on the exact strategy. And stick around to the end of the video to see the S plus tier and why something should be S plus for being absolutely extraordinary. So starting us off here, all of these different symbols represent a different EA, but I'm not going to look at the exact EA behind the symbol. I'm going to look much more at the type of strategy more broadly. So the first example we have here is the Quantum Queen. And the Quantum Queen is a very classic grid martingale style strategy. And this will be used to indicate good quality grid martingale. So not just like randomly buying and using a grid and then praying your grid doesn't blow up, but instead using more of a grid, but a fairly well thought out one that has proven to be reasonably robust over time. So the Quantum Queen kind of represents that entire category. So think grid martingale, absolutely a very high risk bot. However, there's usually some sort of equity stop loss, or the developer has enough of them, they kind of know what they're doing, and they're not making something which is just a pure ticking time bomb. So yes, obviously inherent risk anytime you're using a grid. However, there's usually some sort of safety mechanism in place, and there's a real strategy behind it, so you're not just wildly entering. And this would kind of represent a viable strategy, but probably not the best for a larger account or somebody who's more of an investor and not trying to go for more of an account flip. So I'm going to rank this in the C category. So it's not great, but it's not total bollocks either, because you're able to use it in a small account with limited risk. You might be able to use it in a sustainable way. Something like the Waka Waka would also fit into this category, where it has been robust for years and many people have been getting very good results. However, usually those who use excessive risk with the Waka Waka generally tend to blow their accounts, whereas those who are more conservative have actually had consistent returns, especially if you look at it from the broker side. People have succeeded with it over the years. Moving on to the next category here, which is kind of the other type of grid martingale, the random ultra high frequency order machine style grid martingale. And I'm using the Dark Venus here to represent that, because the Dark Venus just takes a ridiculous amount of trades. Like it's crazy, and every once in a while it blows up accounts. So some people like it because it's free, and it is definitely a grid martingale, but the entry doesn't necessarily have any sort of overly sophisticated strategy behind it. I think the Dark Venus runs on Bollinger Bands or some sort of oscillator. He has two. He has a premium one and he has a Dark Venus. The Dark Venus is one of those two, and frankly, it represents a more broader category of just like random grid martingales. And there's a bunch of them on the MQL5 marketplace, many of which are pretty cheap or free, frankly, because you can just run it for an extended period of time until it blows. So many folks will use this as their first bot. They'll oftentimes get a bad experience because eventually it leads to blown accounts, but they are a very commonplace strategy. So I'm going to rank these bad boys in the D tier. They're just an account blower. They're not gonna survive too long, and they almost always lead to some sort of catastrophic blow up eventually. So now we're going to go over to the Gold Reaper, and I'm going to use this to represent a sophisticated style of support and resistance breakout bot. So not a basic support and resistance breakout, something which is a very systematic strategy, oftentimes many different strategies built into one bot, so you have a bit of diversification. Quite often I know in the Gold Reaper per se, there's different types of order management, so some of which are more like they hold for a longer period of time, some like they scalp rather quickly. So really like any sort of sophisticated support and resistance breakout bot. These are actually pretty good because particularly the Gold Reapers is an excellent bot. And we've seen like a lot of people have good results with this over time. The only reason why I'm going to put this in A tier and not S is because it's very asset specific. So it works great on gold, but if you try and run this more in a currency or a variety of different assets, you oftentimes don't have enough volatility to really make a ton of money. So it's more asset specific. So it's a great type of strategy. It works really, really well. However, unfortunately, it's pretty asset specific, and you really need to have the right level of volatility for it to work. But overall, fantastic style of strategy. So the next one here is I picked a random EA, not a random, but an EA on the MQL5 marketplace, the Meta I11, to represent very fake history reader, fake AI no sort of real strategy behind it, just straight line back test going up. This is going to be an absolute D-, because this is just like a blatant scam. Like, I really should have added an F tier here. If I had an F tier, I'd slot that in there too, because it's just absolutely horrific. Like, this is, yes, it might make money, but it's usually a massive fraud. Therefore, like, good luck if you actually use it long term, because there's probably no real edge or no strategy behind it. So yeah, not great. It's very much an F tier or a D-. Don't buy these bots. They never work long term. They're just preying on people who are naive and have hopes and dreams about having a money printer, when in reality, unfortunately, none of us have invented a money printer quite yet. Unless you're Jerome Powell, you don't have a money printer, so don't buy stuff which looks too good to be true. Moving on here, we now have a sign to represent real AI. So I'm going to put this bad boy in the S tier, because effectively AI is like absolutely changing the algorithmic trading space. If you know what you're doing and you really know how to develop very good bots, the use of agentic or like high quality AI can be an extremely powerful filter. So I would say that like putting AI on top of a good strategy, assuming there's a real strategy behind it, definitely S tier. Whereas if you have like a random ChatGPT API plugin with no real strategy, that's probably much more of like a C tier, where it kind of can work, but you can't really back test it, so there's definitely some downsides there. So extremely well made AI is an A tier, whereas like kind of AI would probably be more of a C tier. Moving on here, the AI Gold Aurum. This is meant to represent all of the category of Lothi bots. This is a developer who makes basic support and resistance breakout style systems. So I'm going to rank this as a strong B tier. So this is like as simple as you find a local high, local low, place a pending order, wait for a breakout. It works well. Unfortunately, the one downside is you can be very, very sensitive to false breakouts. So absolutely can work, but if you enter more of a choppy market regime, many of these bots get blown up. Or not blown up, but they go into nasty drawdowns. So that's why if you use this strategy, you typically need to be very asset specific, or you need to have additional confirmations. So good strategy, works. However, it's nothing crazy, and oftentimes they're pretty simple. Like you can, like Claude could make a bot like this pretty easily, because it's not really rocket science. If you make a more sophisticated one, like you have, I don't know, other rules, like for instance, consider a level fresh, delete pending orders if a new level is calculated or determined, that's when you move into A tier. But the simple, just like keep stacking pending orders at highs and lows, it works, nothing special. So more of a B tier. I'm going to now go to night scalpers. I'm going to consider these a C tier. So night scalpers work. They're good if you're really looking to add more of a mean aversion strategy into them. And this would simply be pretty much like the hours before market close. Look for shorts if you have a deviation away from the average, or look for longs inversely if it goes the other way. It works. Bots like Forex Fury used to be based on this. I know the Valerie Trading has a few like which are based on a similar one. I think like Night Hunter is one of theirs. They work, but once again, they can also go through nasty periods if you have a lot of volatility. So like for instance, people used to do this on gold. They used to run more like night scalping systems on gold, but then in the recent year, with all the crazy volatility in gold, all of a sudden it stops working, and you have these massive moves towards the close. So especially during earnings seasons and whatnot, these can be a bit tricky because there's a lot of news which is released around the close. So you have to be very, very careful with these. So yeah, they work. I've just yet to find one which is super robust. I've developed one myself. It was okay, but not amazing, and I've never seen one yet which has been super robust. So that's why I'm ranking it more in B tier. So now I'm going to go and take a Ultimate Time Bomb, which is one of our bots, which is an opening range breakout, but it's meant to represent not just our bot, but more like opening range breakouts more broadly. So Wim's Orb Master would fit into this. A variety of different orbs would all kind of be in this category. I'm going to rank this as an S tier. Why? Opening range breakouts are one of the most robust, powerful trading strategies out there. Why is that? You're literally trading something real. It's not some technical analysis, voodoo mumbo jumbo of like ICT, the algorithm behind the market. It's like, no, there's a market open. When the market opens, a bunch of orders tend to execute, and usually price flies up or down depending on the asset. So if you can just pretty much trade the volatility and scalp it, oftentimes using pending orders around the open, you can have an exceptionally good system. So Opening range breakouts are S tier. I've developed so many great bots around the concept. Many other folks have too. Wim has some good ones. Jimmy has some good ones. Jimmy Erickson, that is. So lots of really, really good opening range breakout style bots. So finally, to not make this video too long, we're going to move into what is the S plus tier. And not to be biased here, so it is our logo, but this represents a variety of different, like this can be from any company. The main thing is this is meant to represent a portfolio. So a portfolio is really the S plus tier. And what I'm trying to get at is there's no such thing as a magic bot. Even if you have amazing bots in the S tier and the A tier, they're all going to have periods where some do better and some do worse. So what do you really do to make a great algo trading business? You want to stack some of the best bots from the top tiers and put them in a giant portfolio together, obviously with intelligent risk management, and then ideally when something loses money, something else makes money, and that's how you get a smooth equity curve. So the only free lunch in trading kind of is portfolios. That's really the secret, and that's why algo trading has a lot of advantages over manual trading. So if you want to be an algo trader, you have to use portfolios. So guys, really, if you want to be going for the S tier bots, S tier plus bots, stack them all together, and that's probably how you're going to have the most success in this business. Hope you enjoyed this different style of video, and I'll see you in the next one.